I was smack in the middle of a shower, lathered up like a Christmas ham, when suddenly, boom, the water just cut off. Not a drip, not even a sad little trickle, just stone dead, like the pipes had been sucked clean by some angry ghost. I stumbled out, shampoo burning my eyes, slipping and cursing, fumbling for a towel, while the dogs outside went nuts. At first I figured, okay, maybe a line busted or the county messed up something. Then I caught this faint, cheery hiss from next door. Karen's sprinklers spraying her perfect magazine-worthy lawn like there was no tomorrow, while mine looked like something out of an old western, dry as a bone and twice as bleak. That's when it really hit me. Someone wasn't just wasting water, someone was stealing mine. And let me tell you, they had no idea what kind of payback was coming their way. Spoiler, it involved fermented cow manure and a little something I now call the sludge surprise. It all started about a week before that fateful shower. See, I live right where the suburbs tried to eat up the last stretch of real country. Used to be all rolling fields. Now it's just boxy houses, big egos, and rules about mailbox flags. They call themselves the Ridgewood Estates HOA, but I just call them the clipboard cult. My place has been here since before most of their granddaddies were born, and I'd always kept to myself until Karen moved in next door. Now Karen was that special flavor of neighbor, the kind who'd walk her poodle halfway onto my land, then email me at midnight about my visually aggressive fence. The type who throws HOA meetings with wine and cheese, each plate labeled with some passive-aggressive jab like, well, it's not my rule. She and her dog wore matching sun hats, which was probably the least annoying thing about her, and she used to refer to my cows as unsightly biological disturbances. Yeah. So when my barn's water autofiller started choking up and the troughs ran low for the third day in a row, I got suspicious. I checked everything, valves, pipes, even sent a camera down a clean-out. Nothing. It wasn't until I saw the cows all huddled by the back fence right by the bone-dry trough that I got that itch in my brain. That fence faces Karen's yard, and wouldn't you know it, her grass was so green it looked fake. She was out back having what I swear was a water-themed brunch mist tents, koi pond, a swan fountain that looked like it belonged at a Vegas hotel, and her grass was basically a sponge underfoot. Meanwhile, even my weeds were waving little white flags. That's when I decided it was time to call Greg, my old buddy, a plumber with a sixth sense for shenanigans. Greg comes out, we run a pressure test on my line, and the numbers are all wrong, like someone's siphoning water after the main junction. So we get the underground tracer, and what do we find? But a sketchy offshoot buried under a fake irrigation box that was about as real as Karen's tan. We follow the line straight to the fence. Greg just shakes his head, says, Kyle, someone's stealing your water, and I'd bet a steak dinner it ends in that koi pond. But I'm not one to confront without proof, so I set up a trail cam aimed at the fake valve. 2 nights later, we get grainy footage. 2 guys, one with a Ridgewood Estates badge, digging around and fiddling with the box. Karen herself doesn't show, but come on, the connection couldn't be clearer. I was mad sure, but mostly I saw an opportunity. Out here, justice comes in, work boots, not legal briefs. That's when I remembered Grandpa's old cattle tank half full of rainwater cow waste and decades of farm funk, lovingly known as the stink pit. So over the next 2 days, Greg and I reroute the line Karen's been tapping. Instead of my fresh water, it's now pulling straight from the stink pit with a remote valve I can control from my phone. I let it stew for a couple days, let the June heat work its magic. Now turns out Karen's throwing a garden party for the whole HOA bigwigs professional photographer, the works. I wait watching from upstairs with binoculars, sipping my coffee. And as she turns on her fancy mist-arched glass of Prosecco in hand, preaching about sustainability, I hit the button. At first, just a sputter, then a geyser of brown murky sludge shoots from her misters, spraying the crowd, coating the patio, the koi pond, even the food table. People screaming, slipping, gagging, one guy running for the fountain like it's baptism day. Karen stands there drenched, looking like she lost a wrestling match with a septic tank. I shut it off after a minute. 60 seconds of chaos is all it took to ruin her party, her lawn, and probably a couple friendships. Next morning, her yard looked like Chernobyl plumbers, landscapers, some guy in a hazmat suit trying to save the koi. I watched the whole show from my porch with coffee, not a care in the world. But that was just the warning shot. Karen had no idea the sludge came from me. I hadn't trespassed, hadn't touched a thing on her property, just rerouted what she was stealing. But people like Karen don't take an L quietly. She disappeared for a few days, then suddenly a red HOA notice appears on my mailbox, demanding a formal meeting about harassment, water misuse, and unneighborly conduct. I nearly choked, laughing, her accusing me, so I wrote an anonymous letter, attached trail cam screenshots, and slid it under the door of Harold, the HOA vice president. He hates Karen more than I do. Hates Karen. By the end of the week, Harold calls a special meeting. I'm not invited, but my buddy Jacob is. He tells me Karen tries to play the victim, waving around a mason jar of brown sludge as evidence. But Harold's got the photos, her crew, the illegal tap, the whole 9 yards. The board goes ballistic. Someone demands she's suspended. Karen storms out, threatens to call code enforcement. Sure enough, next day county inspector shows up. But I'm ready: permits, livestock registrations, compliance docs, even a letter from the water district. He walks around, sniffs the tank, and thanks me for my time. Karen's still swinging, but now she's hitting air. At this point, Greg and I put together a digital dossier: timeline footage, audio clips, plumber's notes, the whole Karen Chronicles, sent anonymously to every HOA member. Within a day, there's a line outside Karen's house, board members demanding answers. One new neighbor even apologizes to me. Her base crumbles. But Karen doesn't quit. Next morning, I find a warning letter stabbed into my gate with a steak knife. "We know what you did. This isn't over." If that was supposed to scare me, it failed. Made me laugh so hard I kept it in a Ziploc bag for posterity. Then comes the big move. Karen sues me for deliberate contamination and harassment. She demands money, a public apology, and a restraining order. She even submits koi pond funeral photos. But what she didn't know is that my cousin Rye is a lawyer with a taste for blood. Rye gets affidavits from Greg the inspector, even Harold. Meanwhile, Karen's out there handing out flyers warning about dangerous farm contaminants. She even hosts a community cleanse, handing out water bottles labeled purity over poison. Of course, one of her misters sprays someone with leftover funk. Nobody sticks around for the refreshments. Court day arrives. Karen's in full hero of the people mode, 2 lawyers in tow binder labeled justice for homeowners. Rye just walks in, calm, lays out the case photos. Video, signed statements, audio of Karen's own contractor saying, "Yeah, she told us to dig after dark." Karen freezes, her lawyers fumble, and the judge asks if she authorized tapping my line. She mumbles about shared irrigation standards. The judge isn't buying it. Case dismissed, my countersuit approved, damages on the table, and the judge even floats the idea of referring her to the DA. That should have been the end, but then Chris, another neighbor, steps up. He's got pictures from 6 months ago, same illegal tap under his fence. Turns out Karen's been siphoning water from multiple properties. Now it's a class action. HOA demands her removal, and Karen's reign starts to crumble. Her husband starts mowing the lawn alone, looking like he wishes he could vanish. Rumors swirl about her trying to sell the house, but nobody wants it, not with the water thief living there. Still, people like Karen don't stop. She sends in a private inspector claiming to be with the county. Turns out he's just some clipboard jockey with no authority. I send him packing, call the sheriff, and now she's being investigated for trespassing. Word gets out. A local podcast covers the story, The Water Thief of Ridgewood. Karen's mailbox fills up with rubber koi fish. Someone posts a video of her getting a removal letter and hurling a bouquet at Harold's car. Even stripped of her title, Karen tries to stage a press conference, but the only memorable thing is a sprinkler behind her that still spits out brown water. The universe itself was sick of her drama. Final court ruling: I get paid for repairs, new cameras, legal fees, and a restraining order. Karen's house goes up for sale with no mention of the scandal, but everyone knows. Her legacy is a joke, a running story at barbecues, a warning to new board members, a legend on the local Reddit. Funny enough, the folks who bought her place later found the old illegal pipe and asked about it. I just smiled and said, "I'll tell you the story someday." The HOA reform people stopped fighting, and for once the neighborhood felt like, well, a neighborhood. Karen tried to join another HOA in a nearby town, but the internet never forgets. Her blog vanished, her name's Mud, and she can't even order coffee without whispers. I fixed up the barn, built a new pond for the cows, and life rolled on. Every so often someone would ask if I was that guy from the water story. I always said the same thing: I didn't do it to be a hero, I just wanted folks to know you can't steal from people and expect to get away with it forever. As the last trace of Karen faded, the real lesson stuck. A neighbor left a sign on my fence: "Don't steal what isn't yours." I kept it there. Maybe it's simple, but that's all it ever had to be. So what do you think? Was I in the right, or did I take it too far? Have you ever tangled with an HOA or a neighbor who just wouldn't quit? Drop your thoughts below. I've got a feeling this debate is far from over.